I finally realized the dream of this expedition to Pakistan, to find an aquamarine mine in a place where no specialist had ever been. Only the inhabitants of the village that I must reach, near the border with China, have the privilege of working in this field and of extracting the crystals out of this precious mineral, sometimes as big as a football. This mine is at a dizzying height on one of the roofs of the world, the Karakoram, peaking at 7,800 meters. I just arrived in Lahore, the starting point of the journey by road. It's in this bustling city, a crossroads of commerce, which I intend to glean the latest information that will guide me to the aquamarine mines. This step deserves a moment's attention, because it is no stranger to the quest for the blue stone. Lahore is located in the province of Punjab, on the banks of the Ravi River, near India. It's the city of the 1,001 Nights, where the treasure of the great Mughals was deposited. It was founded by Babur, who ruled over vast territories stretching from Oxus to Bengal and the Himalayas to Gwalior. Then, the great Mughal Akbar marked his reign with tolerance, charity, loyalty, ecumenism, and was also a great conqueror and built the Red Fort at Lahore. The Mughal Empire was brought to its peak by Aurangzeb, to whom we owe the Badshahi Mosque, called the Red Mosque. Derived from the Indus civilization, around 3,500 years BC, this great empire was split into several states in 1947. One of them, Pakistan, has an area of 800,000 square meters. It is a Muslim country. It's in the Grand Bazaar, where the crowd intermingles in stifling heat and humidity, where the traces of the past struggle with the present, that I am meant to find the contacts that allow access to the mine of aquamarines. Reality will join the legend. Before leaving the city, near a lassi shop, which is a liquid local yogurt, I meet a man who proposes to open the gates of a mythological world for me. The wrestlers of Lahore. Perfectly oiled men will pursue a fight called kuchti, whose rules are very similar to that of Greco-Roman wrestling. These very popular wrestlers enjoy immense prestige, and their games are subject to very high-stakes betting among the audience. Every day, for hours, these Goliaths practice intense physical training. An armed man protects these elite athletes under the gaze of a phlegmatic lioness living in semi-liberty. As agile as the wrestlers and as determined in the choice of her movements. It is time to leave this place that is both fascinating and disturbing, and to get started on the Karakoram Road on the border with China, toward the mountain of Aquamarines. I run along the Indus in the gold it carries, then to the limits of Kashmir that conceals its legendary sapphires. I am transported in a powerful truck, decorated like a jewel. These vehicles are the inheritors of the tradition of decorated caravans. From Islamabad, the capital of Pakistan, it will take 3 days to reach Gilgit, the main town of the northern regions, where a dealer in aquamarines and other precious stones told me that a man living in the village of Sumayr could lead me to the goal of my expedition, the aquamarine mine. His name is Amir. On the way, particularly in the area of Chalt, where the continental tectonic plates of Russia and India meet, many landslides cut off traffic. these falls often result in fatal accidents. I decide to use a lighter vehicle that allows me to face all kinds of terrain. Arriving in the high valleys of Karakoram, I went along the Hunza River and Nagar Valley. In these areas, people are not used to meeting foreigners. Here I am on Shiite land. Women hide themselves and duck out of sight along my way. Soumaïr, the village of Amir, the man who shall guide me and accompany me. The hamlet is located 2,500 meters above sea level, nestled at the foot of the Rakapochi, with its 7,800 meters in altitude. Amir invites me to the preparations for the climb to the mine with the group of men who will participate in the expedition.
How are you?
These hardened mountaineers are descendants of the Mirs, who once fleeced wealthy silk merchants from China. They were known for their longevity of life due to the purity of water from the glaciers that they drank and the dried fruits that are a staple of their diet. They now live off of their orchards, terrace fields irrigated by mountain streams, and from the proceeds of the exploitation of aquamarines from Chumar Bakoor.
Okay, I just arrived in Nagai. I'm very happy to see you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm a little tired, but tomorrow we go in the mine?
Yes.
Okay, your ancestors?
It is their ancestors who named this place Chumar Bakoor, which means mountain of clay with hints of metal.
Okay. And you find Aquamaine now?
I find some beautiful aquamarine.
Yes.
Crystals, decorate,
yes.
and other rock.
The following legend refers to the discovery of the mine.
Big crystal.
One day, a hunter chased a feline high into the mountains. In his mad dash, he passed by the glacier. Then, looking down, he found a beautiful stone.
Okay.
At first, he thought it was a piece of ice. But after heating it in his hand, he was surprised to see that this piece of ice did not melt. He went down to the village of Soumaïr and spoke to two men who traded with the city of Gilgit.
Fine.
The two men decided to go up and explore, as directed by the hunter. Their search led them to discover that at Chumar Bakoor, the mountain could produce aquamarines. Both speculators saw in the blue-lit stones a way to earn lots of money. Everything should have gone well. Unfortunately, these traders were all too eager and had planned for everything except for taking the precaution of asking protection from the shaman. A key figure, since these adventurers found themselves in the domain of the fairies. The legend states that one of the two was the victim of a climbing accident, and his body was never found. As for the other, he died some months later of a mysterious disease. Of all the legends that circulate about Chumar Bakoor, one says that one of the two men that died in the mountains had found a 15-kilo crystal. Amir tells me that he must go to the shaman who lives across the valley. The shaman is a kind of priest, both sorcerer and magician, who uses a mystical approach. Shamans have the ability to predict, cure, and especially to control minds. The fairies, these supernatural beings with backwards feet, are the guardians of the sacred mountains and of empty spaces. They severely punish all those who inflict damage on their land. The mountain people avoid arousing their ire. They know their overwhelming power all too well. They are everywhere and observe everything. They do not hesitate to trigger formidable thunderstorms and deadly avalanches. My companion and guide, Amir, is keen to follow the shaman's advice, on whose recommendations the security of the people in his village depends, because fairies do not like that the aquamarines of Mount Chumar Bakoor be taken. The shaman makes the following recommendations to Amir. You will toast a handful of wheat for distribution to the 5 girls in your village. They will eat all of it. Then, during your ascent, an animal will need to be sacrificed. The incantatory dance begins, assisted by a narcotic herb, which he eats and inhales. The shaman enters in contact with the fairies. The sounds of the flute help the shaman connect with the afterlife. Then he puts on his ceremonial robe. The wizard is now in a trance. His incantations echo. The contact is established with the fairies.
هي خليتين أكير للباشين أي جوتي كلموني كان موني كان.
Finally, exhausted, the shaman has completed his work. Amir will face the mountain without fear. Back in the village, men prepare for the ascent. Donkeys will help carry equipment to the foot of the glacier. In good spirits, we bring together the last tools: rifles to protect ourselves and to hunt, crowbars, dynamite, and gasoline drills. In the village, activity continues because even those who do not participate in the expedition work together to carry it out.
I send this when I arrive in Paris.
The weather is mild. It is finally time for the big climb to the Chumar Bakoor mine. Our group leaves this temperate valley to face the icy peaks. We progress slowly in the Sumayer Valley, where we meet heaps of blocks of granite. We must save our strength through a slow and steady walk. We must walk 25 kilometers over 3,000 meters of ascent. The load carried by each man in our group weighs between 20 and 45 kilos. Typically, miners rise to Chumar Bakoor in one day, but in order to acclimate, we stop at 3,500 meters. We meet the men who descend from the mine where the snow falls. They are eager to return to the valley, especially since, despite many weeks of work, the ore gave them only pink apatite, a mineral less valuable than the aquamarine. Night falls, and the sacrifice commanded by the shaman must be executed. The goat will be the victim, according to the ritual of halal. Quickly dismembered, the body of the animal will be served at dinner.
How many times to go to Chumar Bakoor now?
Maybe 6 or 7 hours.
Okay. And you think the weather is good?
Yes.
At dawn, we move forward in the area of the high mountains. The steps are slower. The oxygen starts to become scarce. Men have brought wood from the village to make fire, as in the higher altitudes, vegetation does not exist. We are now at the foot of the Silkian Glacier, the final stage and final rest before the ascent of Mount Chumar Bakoor. The mount rears its terrifying mass facing the valley. Amir tells me that the last 2 men to go up wanted to take a quicker route through the glacier. But the wrath of the fairies set off a terrible avalanche that swept them away. The bodies of these unfortunate men were found very recently, and that is why the miners did not begin until very late this year. Nobody wanted to go before the bodies were found. The region we are crossing is very dangerous. The weather changes very quickly, and windstorms are violent. After walking a full day in the snow, we finally arrive at the shelter, located at 5,600 meters. Up there, food can only be as simple as corn cakes, called chapati, dried fruit brought from the valley, and everything is washed down with tea with milk. Night falls quickly on Chumar Bakoor, and the temperature quickly drops below 20 degrees below 0 centigrade. At about 5 o'clock in the morning, one wakes up to icy water. There's no daily convenience. Men live for 4 months each year in shelters of stone covered with a tarp, and with no means of heating, as wood is reserved only for food preparation. The only activity and the only distraction for these men is the mine. Their only reward is the aquamarine. Like convicts, armed with crowbars, hammers, and gasoline drills, they attack the mountain. The lack of oxygen on these very high peaks slows the work. Even the machines sometimes do not start. The rock on which the miners work is a pegmatite, meaning a coarse-grained granite. It is especially hard. The machines have difficulty piercing the holes in which we will introduce the dynamite. This is the only method that can be used to extract these beautiful crystals from their natural strongbox. Unfortunately, the brutality of the blast will break through many of the jewels. It is the price to pay to move forward and find the gems, because no other mechanization is possible at this altitude. Amir explained to me that although he had not studied geology or gemology, he knows from experience that the aquamarine is located near the white lines on the rock, which are quartz, and near large crystals of silver mica. These men have acquired knowledge out of habit. It's been almost 7 years that they've worked in the mine. Amir's father is the oldest miner. He is 65. It may be the last year he comes here. When extracting the crystals, he is often near Amir. His observations and comments are taken into account. The wisdom and experience of elders is still respected in this country.
One by one. One more. Here. Amir. Good. Fluorite. It is a pink color. Blue.
Aquamarine is composed of a rare metal, beryllium. It was formed in the bowels of the earth from high temperatures and high pressures, tens of millions of years ago. Sometimes, in the rubble caused by the explosions, a rare and unbroken specimen can be found, a perfectly hexagonal aquamarine crystal enshrined in its mica casing. With expert precision, these shepherds, who became miners, extract the crystals and live from their trade. They also do it out of passion. Here in Chumar Bakoor, it's out of the question to celebrate this day with champagne. Celebrations were accompanied by milk tea. It's time for the distribution of crystal amongst the miners, either by barter or by sale, by the ritual of coverage. The buyer and the seller each pass one hand under the blanket. The buyer makes a proposal by pressing 1, 2, or 3 fingers of the person who is selling. Whoever presses a phalanx has 100 rupees. Pressing 2 fingers is equivalent to 1,000 rupees. 3 fingers is about 10,000 rupees. Custom dictates that the stone belongs to the group of miners who extracted it. Each group member contributes to the work: the jackhammer, food, or miscellaneous equipment. Each group has the ability to obtain crystals belonging to others, either by exchange or by purchase. Then, the stones will be distributed and sold to traders upon return to the valley. It's 6 p.m. Night has fallen and the cold invades our shacks. With the miners, I examine the treasures discovered over the last few days. Maybe they will consent to selling me some crystals. The next day at dawn, we begin the descent. I have reached my goal. I have finally seen the famous mine of Chumar Bakoor and its treasures. With these men, I lived a unique experience for several days, even though I never really managed to get warm or rest. The migraine never left me. I found that those who work here are constantly afflicted. At every step of the descent, the air is enriched with oxygen. It's like coming out of apnea. Movements become more precise, and headaches go away gradually, as if by magic. The miners, satisfied with their work, feel a sense of accomplishment. They are happy to be back with their families and to have escaped the spirits of the mountain.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
In these remote areas, pagan practices and religious affiliations are intertwined. The shaman helps them to discover the treasure, and they thank God for having found it. As for me, I pay tribute to those shepherds of the Pakistani peaks who have accepted me into their circle at 6,000 meters. Thanks to them, I was able to live an unforgettable adventure and to achieve my dreams of being a treasure hunter.
حي على خير العمل الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
These stones will follow a path opposite to mine, from hand to hand, from merchant traders in Pakistan to the west. They will continue along the Aquamaine road, and eventually, once cut, end up in settings or in collections.